Welcome to Trail Manners, the podcast so dedicated to mountain trails and running that they broadcast out of a 78 Volkswagen bus in the mountains. Who does that? Aric and Joel are your hosts and will bring you the trail life as you may have not heard it before. You hear about everything from gear reviews, nutrition to keep you upright and moving forward, and they'll even bring guests into the bus for conversations that you won't hear anywhere else. It's time for some running adventures on a higher elevation. The old 78 Volkswagen bus is fired up and headed to the mountains. Here are your hosts for Trail Manners, proudly representing the 801 with their passion and love for the trails, Aric Manning and Joel Hatch.
Welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast, episode number 116. Today, I'm going to be talking with Terry Chiplin from the U.S. Trail Running Conference. So if this is your first time listening, then thanks for coming. The Trail Manners Podcast is produced every week for your enjoyment, and show notes are found at trailmanners.com. Come back often, and please feel free to add the podcast to your favorite RSS feed or iTunes. You can also follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook at Trail Manners. All links are in the show notes. Now let's get after it.
All right, welcome to the Trail Manners Podcast. We are at episode 116, and today, if you can't tell, we're doing this over the phone. We've got a great guest for us today. His name is Terry Chiplin, and he is one of the masterminds behind the U.S. Trail Running Conference. So, Terry, thanks for taking the time to join us today.
Aric, it's a pleasure to be here. Looking forward to sharing time with you.
Great. Well, let's just get right into it. I mean, the U.S. Trail Running Conference, it's sixth year. It's been moved, but before we get too far into it, why don't you give us a little background or history of yourself, if you wouldn't mind?
Sure. I'm a road runner originally from England, and we came up with this idea that having the option to or the opportunity to run at altitude in Colorado was a cool idea. And so we came out from England to start training camps, and we're based here in Estes Park in Colorado. And, you know, we train at 7,500 feet up to over 12,000 feet. And having once arrived, I'd never actually done really any trail running. I'd done some cross country back in England. But once I discovered trail running, I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. Why haven't I done this before? And I basically, my passion for trail running was just ignited, and really took off. And I connected with the American Trail Running Association, and got them involved in some of the trail running camps that we do here. And I had a conversation a few years back with my good friend and executive director of the Trail Running Association, Nancy Hobbs, and out of that conversation came the idea that trail running is probably at the point in terms of its growth and development that a standalone event would be something that would be a really good thing to see if we could develop and build and see what happens. And so back in 2013, that's exactly what took place. And so we had the first event here in Estes Park in Colorado at the Stanley Hotel. And it's grown organically year on year. We've attracted some amazing speakers and exhibitors and industry experts over the years. And last year we made the decision to take the conference out to a different audience. So, last year we had 20 states represented in terms of race directors, for example. But it was quite Colorado-centric, and so we felt that the West Coast was probably a good place to take the conference to next. And we had the great fortune to link up and partner with Race Slow in San Luis Obispo. And so the conference is a partnership this year between the U.S. Trail Running Conference and Race Slow, who are putting on the Slow Ultra that takes place the day after the conference finishes. So this year, San Luis Obispo, California, it's August 29th to the 31st. and followed by the slow Ultra on Saturday, September the 1st.
So it's just a Trail Runners week then.
I know. It's a pretty amazing lineup, and we're very happy with the way the conference has grown and developed, and the interest and engagement from race directors, speakers, industry experts, and exhibitors as well. Very pleased with the way the whole event is shaping up, and this year it looks like it's going to be even better than last year.
Wow, that's fantastic. So it looks like with the people you have, it's a great place for race directors, trail runners, anybody in that realm to connect and network a little bit as well.
Yeah, absolutely. So the conference itself, we have kicks off Wednesday afternoon, and that's August 29th, and we run through Wednesday afternoon, all day Thursday and Friday morning is for race directors. So we have kind of over two solid days for trail race directors. And we've got a really great range of speakers and sponsors and exhibitors for those guys. So to give you some idea, we got Stephen Adderholt from Ragnar Relays, Tia Boddington from the MyWalk 100K, Amy Ruziecki from Vermont 100, Clark Zeeland from and Ian and Emily Torrence. So local guys from California, Sundog Running, and more people too. And the event is actually the race director side of things is presented by Race Roster, who are a registration platform, and they're going to be sharing how their systems and especially their CRM system can really help race directors grow their registrations. And that's the theme for this year, creating opportunities. And, whether that's using technology and innovation to help grow race registrations, or maybe we'll also be sharing information from race directors and experts that have used maybe different alternative audiences to grow race registrations. So, for example, women runners that are, majorly underrepresented in terms of trail races. And then new market categories like challenged athletes, and also looking at ethnic diversity. So how can we have a more diverse population in terms of trail runners at races too?
Nice. So what does it entail? You said up till Friday morning is race director, and then the rest of the Friday, is that more for trail runners that can come out and be a part of it?
Yes. So Friday afternoon, we've got some specific sessions for trail runners. And going to include we got interactive panels, and we're going to include things like training, healthy training for trail runners, and we've got some pro coaches and trail runners who are going to be talking on those subjects. We've also got some experts coming in talking about sports nutrition recovery, gear, equipment and safety, and mindful running as well. We've also got a running form workshop presented by Altra, and then we've also got an expo with trail shoes and gear and all kinds of cool stuff that the trail runners love to get their hands on or talk about. So it's going to be yes, yeah. We do like to talk as well as run, huh?
And get our hands on gear, right? I mean, no one likes to admit it.
Get our hands on gear.
Yeah.
yeah. Nothing quite like it. So that's a really good afternoon. Some solid stuff, and it all takes place in it's the Dairy Creek Golf Club in San Luis Obispo, and so it's set in rolling hillsides, beautiful location. And then the next day, Saturday, September the 1st, is the Slow Ultra. And that has a 50K, which is the RRCA Trail, the RRCA Trail 50K Championships. Then a half marathon, a 5K, and some kids races too. So really great lineup. The Race Slow team have done an excellent job in putting together a new course that's also at the same location. So we're keeping everything nice and neat and tidy, and looking forward to a great event.
Wow, sounds fantastic.
There's also a dirt festival that's happening on Saturday, September the 1st, with the Slow Ultra. And so there's an expo there as well, with again more gear and training support and all that kind of thing for runners. And then there's also some pro athletes and that kind of thing happening too. And then I believe there's a barbecue and maybe even some beer.
Well, boy, that just wraps it all up in a tidy bow with that final beer and food, right?
It does. Yeah. And we've got a couple of special offers and promotions that are running at the moment, which your followers may well be interested in. So I'd love to share those with you now, if that's okay.
Absolutely. We're all about special offers, so let's do that.
Okay. So the first is for any race directors that are interested in coming and attending, and we'd love to see you there. Then there's a free upgrade. So if you're coming along to the event and want to take in the sessions on Friday morning for the race directors, then you get a free upgrade to take in the trail runner sessions on the Friday afternoon as well. And so that's a free upgrade we're running at the moment. And also with anybody that enters any of the Slow Ultra races, that they also get a free upgrade for the trail runner sessions on Friday afternoon as well.
Oh, wow.
So if anybody... Yeah. So whichever way you look at it, if you're coming in as a race director, then you get a free upgrade for the trail runners, and then if you're taking part in the Slow Ultra and register for that, then you get a free upgrade for the trail runner sessions too. So we want to make this a really buzzing, happening event. There's going to be a lot of cool things happening. The theme, as I said, is about creating opportunities, and for race directors, then the challenge is how to put on a race that is viable, is innovative, how to stand out from the competition. And so we're focusing on how to create opportunities for race directors, but then also how to create opportunities for trail runners as well. So, how can you train smarter? How can I eat better? How can I hydrate more effectively? And use the techniques and tips that experts and our pro athletes have developed over the years, and learn from their mistakes rather than make our own, if you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, because that's what it is, right? Trial and error, and seeing what works for some people and may not work for others. So, and just getting new ideas. Yeah,
absolutely. And the other, you touched on this earlier, you mentioned about the networking, and it's not just the content and the kind of education and all of those good things that the event provides, but the networking opportunity is something that has come through really strongly in our surveys and previous conferences. It's really a unique opportunity for race directors and trail runners to get together and share ideas. And lots of cool innovations have actually come out of previous years' conferences. So to give you one example, that Aaron Saft, one of our race directors, who comes across from the east side of the country, that he was like, I've been putting on races and I've been pretty happy the way things are going. But he said, I've been kind of missing some parts in terms of developing the community around trail running. And he went away from one conference a couple of years ago and was like, okay, I know exactly what to do now. And he's had some real success in terms of getting his community more engaged in trail running, but not just trail running, but also trail maintenance, trail building, trail development, because I think that's an important part of what we need to get engaged in as trail runners.
Sure.
Is we have these amazing trails that we have the opportunity to get out and enjoy the magic that trail running gives us. But we've not been necessarily super good at putting back in and investing some of our own time to make sure that these trails are maintained and we have new trails to run on as well. So lots of cool ideas. It's a really good networking opportunity, and we're very proud and excited about about what this conference has produced so far. And we look forward to seeing a ton of people come over to San Luis Obispo and join us in August.
Now, have you seen in the past 5 years, have you seen a lot of repeat or returning race directors and trail runners? And then the second part to that, moving it to San Luis Obispo, have you seen an influx of new people since it might be more close to their location?
So, the first question, we had 5 years at the same location here in Estes Park. And so we've certainly seen a number of Colorado-based race directors and trail runners who have come back several times, and that's been really good to see them and hear them come back about and share what kind of developments and initiatives they've been successful with as a result of attending previous conferences. So that's worked really well. Of course, then moving to San Luis Obispo, then what we're expecting and what we're finding so far is that we'll have an influx from definitely from California, but from the surrounding states as well. So I think we're really pleased with the way this has developed, and it's a whole new model to take it outside of Colorado, but we're excited to bring the exciting conference to a whole new audience, and look forward to sharing that with everybody.
Yeah, and that's a great part too. Is they could head on over to ustrailrunningconference.com. There's a lot of great information, plus easy to register. Breaks a lot of stuff down there. Great photos, by the way, on there that really kind of wet the whistle of what's in store. But it's really easy to register for. If people were interested in coming from out of state, being a travel agent that you want to be, maybe, where would they fly into? What's the easiest place for them to get there?
Yeah, so there actually is an airport at San Luis Obispo, and so I believe at least United fly in there. So I know several people are planning to, several of attendees are planning to fly in direct to San Luis Obispo. Otherwise, when we went out to check out the possible locations in San Luis Obispo last year, then I actually flew into LA. And then drove up from LA. But of course, that's a little bit cheaper. But then you've got the drive to and from LA, which is or from and to LA. So that was the traffic in LA was a bit of a shock for me coming from Colorado here.
I think it's a little bit of a shock for anybody that's not there. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, I was amazed at how you can have 5 lanes of standstill
and nothing's going on, right? It's not a wreck; it's just cars.
Nothing's going on. Yeah.
And also on the website, if you head on over there, there's the conference schedule, so it kind of gives you an idea of how it's broken down. Like hour sessions, 20-minute sessions. So it's not like just sitting in a room all day. There's breaks. There's different opportunities to do that, and it also has the speakers on there as well. So it gives you a good idea of what the keynote speaker is, what they'll be talking about. So it gives you a little bit more information on if you're interested in head out there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So ustrailrunningconference.com. And then, as you said, it's really laid out clearly. So, the register button just takes you straight to, gives you the registration options. And, so we're really looking forward to a ton of people coming out and registering for the conference. And also like to say a big shout for our presenting sponsor, the City of San Luis Obispo, who have been really, really helpful in terms of bringing this event to the city. And for those folks who haven't been to San Luis Obispo before, it's a really cool city. Lots of great restaurants, great vibe, but tons and tons of trails. So we experienced some of the coastal trails, some of the trails that are more inland as well. But really, really, nicely maintained, well built. Just a pleasure to run on and experience. And so I think it's going to be, for anybody that either knows San Luis Obispo or hasn't been to San Luis Obispo before, it's just going to be a real treat to come and enjoy the vibe and the excitement that the conference will provide.
And I think the great part about that that I look at too is just stick around for Saturday and run a race, while you're there.
Yeah, I know. That's it's a kind of a different model for us, and so we're really excited to share that with the Slow Ultra and thank them for their support in making this possible. But yeah, you're absolutely right, and that the Saturday has a race distance really for anybody, from a 50K, half marathon, 5K, and the kids fun races too. So a really good lineup, a trail race for everybody in the family, pretty much, and that's going to be a big, exciting dirt festival that I think will be something that people will talk about for a while to come.
Nice. Now as I'm looking through it, like the guest speakers, is that a list that could potentially change as you move forward? Because there might be, people that come on board later. I mean, one of the names I just pop up on here about creating opportunities is Gina from Trail Sisters.
Yeah, Gina from Trail Sisters. I love Gina and Crazy. So, we're kind of really hopeful that Gina will be able to make it. We're actually waiting to hear confirmation from her, but she definitely wants to be out there. It's just a question of timing in terms of her schedule and all that kind of thing. So yeah, we're the schedule is likely to, we are going to have other people that we add to the schedule as well. Obviously, we're hopeful that nobody will drop, but inevitably, some things do change.
Oh, absolutely.
But we do suggest that people keep an eye on the speakers and the schedule, and I think we're really, really fortunate. I mean, I've been, I kind of pinch myself sometimes because I kind of think, hey, I'm just an ordinary guy, came over from England with an idea. And here we are a few years later, and it's like I'm putting on the U.S. Trail Running Conference, and it's like, whoa, how did that happen?
Oh, it's amazing! It's amazing, and like you said, it's just the people you get to surround yourself with. I mean, just the preliminary list that we've talked about. Even like a guy like Ian Torrence, who is one of the greatest guys, not just in trail running, but just period. Get an opportunity to listen to him with all his education, just to hang out with him. I mean, stuff like that goes a long way, other than just sitting and listening to someone talk, because they're just so personable.
Right. Thank you. Yeah, that's really important. I think it's I mean, I do. I am incredibly grateful for the people we have attracted, but then I think that's part of what we set out to achieve. The other thing I think is just in terms of pro runners that we, some of the nicest people I've met are also trail runners.
Yep.
And it just seems to be something that attracts, some of the nicest people that anybody could know. We're I'm very thankful for the depth of expertise and knowledge and speakers, sponsors, exhibitors. And it's an unrivaled. There's nothing quite like it in the trail running market, and we think it's a must-attend event for both trail race directors and trail runners. And we invite we invite anybody and everybody to come along and take in the buzz. And then if anybody has any questions regarding the conference, so obviously we're very pleased if people just go ahead and register. But if you have any questions at all regarding the conference, then people can reach me at Terry, so that's Terry at ustrailrunningconference.com.
That's pretty easy.
And then on the website there's also my my mobile number too, and I'm happy to get calls from people too. So.
Well, you're a brave man, Terry. I've given my cell phone number out on the show a few times, and afterwards I'm like, maybe I don't know if that was a good idea or not, but it works out.
You know, I've had other people say that to me before. They'll say, like, is this your mobile? And I'm like, yes, that's my mobile. You know, it doesn't go through to a call center or somewhere else.
Yeah.
And you know, I mean, my experience so far is, you know, it's mostly that I've had some really, really interesting conversations from people calling me.
I can imagine.
Yeah, and you know, I'm all about that because it's you know, I love talking to people, and trail running is definitely a big passion of mine. And so yeah, very, very happy for people to call me.
Well, you know, and you mentioned it earlier, and we see it on our podcast all the time. You talk about the people in trail running, how wonderful they are, and sometimes you forget you're one of those people. You know, you're a trail runner. You are putting something together, and in our podcast we talk about a lot of advocacy, mentorship, because as the scope of trail running changes, the growth of the sport. You have the people that have come before us, and it's great to hear their stories, to pass on, to keep that alive, but also it's that mentorship of taking care of things. And I think the Trail Running Conference you put together is just a huge example, and it's needed for sure, and it's a great platform for anybody in trail running.
Yeah, thank you. I think absolutely right. I think the advocacy piece is really important. I mean, especially as we see, you know, in some parts of the country, we see, you know, access to public lands being taken away. And, you know, that's something that, you know, it's, again, you know, we can take things for granted. And then all of a sudden find that we can't run where we really like running or used to run, and that's something we need to, you know, get organized as a community and make sure that we have a voice to say to get involved and get engaged and make sure that you know, this kind of thing can't happen. And in terms of taking care of things, then you know, I touched on the kind of importance of us as trail runners getting engaged in trail maintenance and trail building and that kind of thing. But it was we've had the Council for Responsible Sport, and Keith Peters from that organization. He's presented the last couple of conferences, and it struck me in one conversation with him that you know, he was kind of challenging me to think about, as a conference, you know, we're here to bring race directors and trail runners together, and you know, present information and share ideas, and you know, create innovative ideas. But what he was challenging me with was, look, you know, you're a conference. It's not just down to race directors and trail runners to take the initiative. How can you as a conference take the initiative too? And so one of the things we're doing this year is we're on track at the moment to become the first sport-related conference to gain a certification from the Council for Responsible Sport.
Oh, fantastic!
So, you know, that's a really cool thing that I'm really proud of, and I thank Keith for challenging me on that, and also working out how we could enable that. But it's yeah, I mean, you know, as a result of that, then you know, just from the conference perspective, then I'm having to think about Just kind of basic things like, are we going to create, or how can we minimize the waste that we create? How can we make sure that we're using not single-use bottles, but some kind of recycling bottles? And how do we serve coffee and drinks and food and this kind of thing, but do it in a way that minimizes waste, but is also sustainable and creates a minimal footprint on the environment. But then the other side of that is, how the kind of relationships with our sponsors and exhibitors, and how can we make sure that they're not bringing along a whole bunch of products which then create packaging waste at the site. So how can we overcome and work closely with those sponsors and exhibitors to make sure that our waste, we control our waste rather than just let it happen. Yeah. So I really love that kind of engagement, and as you said, it's that is really about taking care of things. It's just having that mindset, setting out with that in mind, I think is really important. And we've got some great experts and speakers who can share their ideas and innovations for creating events that get people really engaged in taking care of things as well as enjoying the running as well.
Well, and those that do, which is great to see in trail running. We both know that trail runners do a good job of taking care of things, but there's that ownership part of it. There's that part where it makes you proud that you either help maintain, build a trail, or on a run and picked up trash. It's not always about complaining about the trail's in poor condition, it's overgrown, there's garbage. It's a matter of just doing your part. So with that growth you talked about, as you've seen, the growth of the sport has been tremendous. But there's only so many trails, right? So that trail's getting used much more, whether it's from racing or training. But I think a lot of people need to step back sometimes and say, okay, why is this trail runnable? Why is it in great shape? A lot of people just take it for granted, unfortunately. And so having a conference like yours with these experts, these people can come from back east, and go home with some new ideas from those roundtable discussions, the beer, later on in the evening when they're just hanging out. So face-to-face meetings like this, it's amazing what you're doing, and it's really cool. And I can't tell you enough how we hope this thing just takes off even more.
Thank you. Well, we're very proud of what we've developed, and working very closely with the American Trail Running Association, and I know I've mentioned them already, but want to put out another shout for them as well, because they do an amazing job in terms of representing and growing trail running in this country. And I wouldn't be here talking to you if it wasn't for them, for example. So that's something I'm very thankful for.
So with the growth, what's some of the things that you've noticed over your years, coming in fresh from England and getting into the trail scene? What's some of the growth, I don't want to say issues or problems, but what have you noticed or stood out most to you with the growth of trail running?
Well, one thing that really comes to mind is the change in developments in trail shoes. It wasn't that long ago that trail shoes were mostly, in terms of what was on sale to the public, trail shoes were mostly really kind of clunky hiking boots. Yeah. And things have developed a ton in a relatively short time, and I'm really pleased that that a lot of the manufacturers have really taken on board that hey, we could do with a lighter, more responsive shoe. we could do with better grip in terms of terrain that's wet and slippery, and so I think that it's great to see the manufacturers actually get engaged and get involved. And then listen to what their target audience is saying, and then create shoes which meet those demands. And it's been fantastic for me as a road runner coming here to then kind of see that change and development happening. And I think that the other thing that I really love is a lot of the other products that support trail running have come from people that have maybe seen, hey, I've tried using this hydration pack or this GPS or this watch or whatever it is. I've tried using this and it's like it doesn't work the way I want it to. And so people coming up with their own solutions. And then that's been really cool to see, some relatively recent startup companies coming through with some great ideas and innovations and just taking off as a result. So I think that's really cool in terms of both shoes and gear. The other thing that I really like is the kind of connection to mindful running, as some people call it. So the idea, I mean, this has been especially interesting to me coming from a road running background, and I ran track, back in school. That the idea of running in nature, and although having said I ran track, that before I ran track, then I was running barefoot on grass back in England. Okay. And so I love that kind of connection to nature that trail running brings us. And the kind of growth of mindful running, I think is something, it's no coincidence that has come, I think, as trail running has grown, because I think that nature gives us an opportunity to heal, really. Nature itself is a very healing place, and I know we've probably all seen stories of runners that have started running trails and have come to trail running with depression or addictions or these kind of things, and that trail running has really helped heal them. And so I think that's a really great conversation to come out of the growth of trail running, and hear those people that have been helped by the amazing environments that we have to run in, and our connection to nature. It's like, for me, I've had experiences running here in Colorado when I'm on a new trail, haven't run it before. And I'm on a climb somewhere, and I just got my head down and working away, and turn a corner, and it's like all of a sudden I get this view of the Continental Divide, snow-capped mountains, and it's like, oh my God! And a few times I've just been like, my legs stop working, and it's like I just come to a standstill. And just move to tears. It's yes. Like there's no kind of warning. There's no opportunity to say, should I be doing this? Shouldn't I be doing this? It's like it just comes. Yeah. And I think it's moments like those that trail running really provides, and it's part of the magic that I love sharing. So we do trail running camps still here in Estes Park in Colorado, and do those with the American Trail Running Association in conjunction with them, and we have athletes from all over the world come and run here and maybe run trails for the first time, and it's just wonderful to see people's faces, especially if they've come from an urban environment. Mm-hmm. where maybe there are minimal trails, or there's maybe trail in a park or something like this, which is wonderful. But you take them out into a wilderness area, and it's like, oh my gosh, this is just amazing.
And that's one of my favorite things for sure is that introducing people to your trails or something different than what they're used to.
Yeah, I know. It's just such a magical opportunity, and for again, it's kind of pinching myself. It's like we had this idea back in England. Yeah, altitude training. Yeah, that's really cool. Altitude training works for anybody. It doesn't matter what your pace is. It's and sure, the elites use it because that gives them a benefit, and you get physiological benefits, and your blood supply system changes and develops, and so you become more efficient as a runner. But the other thing that we found with the athletes we work with here is that we've had them stay with us for a week, do a training camp. We talk about running form and training and nutrition and hydration. We talk about that, and then we go out and run, and then they go back home, and we've had some amazing PRs set by runners, returning home within a few weeks, and it was like, it struck me at first that how can this be happening? Because the physiological benefits, sure, you get some benefit from altitude training, but some of the times that were being set were like, this is something's happening that's way beyond this.
Yeah.
And I think what was happening was they were reconnecting because of the places that we were taking them to, and the joy they were finding in running on trails, that it reconnected them with their joy of running. And so then they took that joy with them back to, wherever home was for them. And so, I think it was a combination. Some of these PRs that were being set, I think, was a combination between the physiological gains of being at altitude, but also the psychological gains of running, mountain trails in Colorado. It's just an amazing place.
Yeah, and I think we could all, like you mentioned, turning a corner and then seeing the Continental Divide. And, I just was talking to you via email. I just got back from Bellingham, Washington, and I live in the mountainous region here, which I'm in love with. But, I find this new place that a good friend of mine takes me on tours, and I was like a little schoolboy. I was just giggling and running and skipping, and, it wasn't running at that point. It was more of a self-exploration,
Yes.
And I think that's what it brings.
Yeah, and I think that's it wasn't Krissy by any chance.
No, it was a good friend of mine, Jeff Hart. He's just a real good friend, lives up there, and he's going to be seeing me again soon, I'm sure. And yeah, it wasn't Krissy this time, but hopefully I can catch up with her on another trip.
Yeah. So I'm glad you mentioned Bellingham, because Krissy Moehl, who's Chuckanut race director, and obviously an elite athlete as well, that she's going to be at the conference, and so we're looking forward to seeing her. I actually haven't seen her for a couple of years now, because she used to live in Boulder, just down the road from me here. And then moved back to or moved over to Bellingham. So but you're right. That's we all have a child, a kid inside us,
mm-hmm.
And probably most of us grew up active and running around in some way and having fun, and I think it's that's something else that I really love about trail running is it gives me and the people that I share trails with, it gives us an opportunity to play in a way that road running just doesn't. So we can, you can run hard to the next tree, or you can jump off rocks, or bounce off trees, It's a pretty incredible environment and playground. And of course, it's not just in physical. It's also the mental and spiritual and emotional. Everything gets connected and touched when we run trails. And it's my paradise, and I'm sure it's yours as well, Aric.
Well, and again, I mean, you mentioned it. The great thing about that's something you could do by yourself if you need just to get away for yourself and spend that time with yourself. But when you get an opportunity as well to do it with like-minded people, it increases that joy factor, and you see more and more people, not just races, but, trips, hey, let's go do Grand Canyon, let's go do Wonderland Trail, let's go do all these different places, because sharing them with people that are like-minded, it just increases that, euphorism, I guess, euphoric times 10, or how many people are with you. And I think, and that makes it fun. And then afterwards you can sit down and share, share a meal, share a beer, whatever you do, share a campfire, and that's part of the experience with trail running, where a lot of people I speak to, they don't get that on the roadside as much, right? It's more business as usual. And so when we talk about the nature of trail running, there's just so many facets to it that it's all inclusive. Anybody can do it.
Right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. And of course, a lot of, actually going back to one of the things we were talking about earlier, that in terms of the growth of, what's developed in terms of trail running, that I think the other thing that I like in some ways, is that, things like prize money. So trail athletes can earn a living, from doing this.
Yes.
So they don't have to necessarily kind of compromise and go run roads in terms of supplementing their income or making a major contribution to their income if they run roads. But I think that's something else. I mean, I just recently read Dina Castor's book, Let Your Mind Run, and so she was talking about her development as an athlete, and she grew up running trails. And so I'm pretty sure that she's still a competitive athlete, but I bet one of her favorite places to run is on trail still.
Yeah.
And so it's like that's home. And so I think that's another important part of what's happened and what's developed in terms of trail running. Of course, it's also the kind of, we've also seen some of the dark side come across in terms of PED use and that kind of thing. But but again, as a community, we can be strong and make sure that that kind of thing is not allowed. So races like Western States, for example, taking a zero tolerance policy on that is I think something that's really good and gives a strong message in terms of that's not who we're about. That's not what we're about.
Yeah, I agree. So what does the future of the U.S. Trail Running Conference look like to you? Is there different goals that you have? Is it something that might move next year? I mean, what does it look like for you for the future of the conference?
For the future of the conference, yeah. So that's a really great question. I mean, we got some plans in the works that we'll keep secret for the moment, but certainly we're looking at 2019 and potentially moving to another location. So we're looking at some alternatives for that. So, we'll be looking to make a decision on that and soon after the conference this year. I think I'd love to see the conference grow in terms of the education piece, and perhaps to develop the idea that that in some way a race director, so it's a race director that attends, for example, could then not just benefit from the education and the networking and the opportunities that creates, but also have a certification that then has some substance and some validity that says, I attended this conference. Mm-hmm. And for that to bring some kind of rewards in terms of other connections and opportunities that creates. I think there's some really cool opportunities, and we're also looking at how to get. I think this is a really important point as well for race directors, but then the experience for trail runners is to get sponsors more engaged as well. Mm-hmm. And how can we again as a community do a better job of bringing race directors and sponsors together, so that we get a win-win situation for everybody that takes part in races. And so we've got some cool ideas that we're working on in the background, and we'll look forward to sharing more of those ideas in the future.
No, it's fantastic, and we've been talking about it quite a bit on our show as we've had conversations too. Terry, I mentioned that. It's definitely something that's been on my radar. And boy, after talking to you, it just makes me lean closer to making that trip to California. I'm just caught up in how fun this could be, and the potential to bring it back, to learn. Because, here at this podcast, we talk to a lot of amazing people, trail runners, race directors, all walks of life. And to be able to keep learning from them and come to a conference where you have so many like-minded people together, just the difference you could make by bringing it back to where we are, and exposing more people to the good part, the education part, and ideas is a great opportunity.
Yeah, fantastic. I completely agree, and I think you're right. As a community, we have so many people that have some incredible ideas, and really excited about bringing as many people as possible together in San Luis Obispo, August 29th to the 31st, and to make some magic happen. And let's raise our voices and keep developing and growing trail running in the USA. I think it's it's the most amazing sport, and I'm also really thankful to you, Aric, for creating Trail Manners, and it's really amazing to think that this is podcast number, what was it, 116?
Yeah, 116.
116, yeah. So you take. Sorry, go on.
Oh, I was just say we're almost at 3 years now, so.
Wow.
which I would have never had any idea where we've come. But again, it's not purely us. It's what we enjoy, and the people we get to meet along the way is the biggest bonus of all.
Right. Yes. Yeah. I know. Yeah, you're doing a great job, mate, and thank you for allowing me to share this with you. And I look forward to meeting you in person.
Yeah, that'd be fantastic. Well, if people out there, if you're interested, we'll definitely have some show notes here on our website, as well as you can just go right to ustrailrunningconference.com. There's all the information you can imagine there. Terry's information if you have any questions for him, but it really is a can't miss event. If you're any part of the trail community, beginner, veteran, company, sponsor, whatever you are, it's for you. And Terry, you and your team have done an amazing job. The trail running community owes you all, even if they haven't been to the event. It's just something that's much needed, and we wish you much success in the future with it.
Aric, thank you. Your kind words are warming my heart. You're going to bring me to tears, man.
Yeah. Well, now you got to hope for the England win at the World Cup against Tunisia on Monday, right?
I have my fingers and toes crossed. It's. I was actually. I was a young boy at a scout camp in 1966. and which you might remember. I know you weren't around at that time, but England won the World Cup in 1966, and I remember listening to it on the radio. And just unbelievable. We had, we weren't drinking alcohol at that age, but we did have a party that night.
That's all right. Yeah, that's I tell all my podcasters, soccer was my first love, my first passion, and so the next month they're going to have to be stuck with me talking about the World Cup as well as trail running. So that's just the way it's going to be.
That's a good combination.
Oh, it is. It really is. So, well, Terry, again, I appreciate you taking the time there from Estes Park. And again, San Luis Obispo is going to be hopping at the end of August, and don't miss it. I mean, a great event. Keep your eyes on the schedule as it grows. But I mean, we've dropped a few names on this podcast, but what a great opportunity to get some great time with people that do what you do what you love in a beautiful location. So, Terry, thank you again, and I look forward to talking to you in the future.
Yeah, thank you, Aric. I look forward to it too.
Thank you for listening to the Trail Manners Podcast. We'd like to thank Terry Chiplin with the U.S. Trail Running Conference for taking the time to join me today over the phone. And you can check more of the Trail Running Conference out at ustrailrunningconference.com. We also want to encourage everybody to follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook at Trail Manners, or swing by the website at trailmanners.com. There you can check out the store page, or you can hit us up on the contact page. Let us know what you want to see, who you want to hear, or if you would like to be on the show. Until next time, this is Aric Manning reminding you, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Now go get it.